Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Euro Fantasy Football and welcome to my video. In today's video, I am basically going to go through each nation and pick out a few players that I think that could do well in Euro Fantasy Football. So I did a little bit of research, but I won't be able to cover every single player, so I will be missing out a few. If you know any good gems, let me know in the comments below. Let's all help each other out. This is the place to be for Euro Fantasy Football. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe. I am going to be covering every single match day until the end of the tournament. So subscribe and drop a like in the video, as it helps my channel out a lot, as it shares it all around. One of the other things that I wanted to mention is I'm not going to go through like strategies in this video. I think I'm going to be creating that next week. I've got a really good strategy for the limitless and the wild cards, so watch out for that. I think the next video will be out on a Monday. Okay, so here we go. So the first nation that I'm going to be looking at is Austria. Austria has got a couple of players that could do really well for our fantasy football team. One of the main player that I'm going to mention is Alaba. That is 5.5. So if you're looking for that cheap midfielder that plays, that has a chance to get a return, and you know, is on some of the set pieces, he is the one to go if you want a player from Austria. 8% owned as well. I'm pretty certain that's going to go up. 5.5. I haven't seen like a really cheap player that actually could do really well. I think 5.5 around that price tag is the way to go to get a good midfielder, like get a good fifth midfielder. And the next player that I wanted to mention is Sabitzer. That is 8 million and only 2% owned. He does play behind the striker, so he has a chance to actually return. But 8 million, it might be quite a lot of money there. When I was creating my first draft, it was quite difficult to kind of like remain in the budget, but there are a couple of like 7.5 or 7 million strikers from Austria that you can actually go for. A couple of cheap midfielders as well, but I'm not too certain. But looking at the defense, there's a couple of 4 million and 4.5 million players that could be on our radar. If we know that they are 100% certain to actually play, I think they are definitely going to help us out to kind of create a squad. So now let's move on to Belgium. There's a couple of really good players that I think it is a must-have. You got Lukaku there, 27% owned and 11 million on the price tag. He is on form. He is on fire. He scored a lot of goals. I think like over 20 goals this season for Inter Milan. And yeah, he is the main man. And you know, with the fixtures that Belgium has, I think they're gonna go through. They're gonna score a lot of goals. They've been performing really well, and Lukaku is going to be the main guy that's going to bring all of those goals for that team. Mertens is a massive differential, so if you want to really like go for it, Mertens is a player to kind of go for. He will play 9 million. However, that kind of takes a lot of budget out to go for like two big hitters. I think there are other players that actually could get some returns, like Kevin De Bruyne. That is 10.5, a little bit more expensive, but it's a midfield position there, and you know what he can do. He is just a fantastic player to watch. I'm just going to hope that he's fit and ready. I think he will be, and if he is, then it'll probably be in my team. You got Hazard, but I'm just going to skip Hazard. I don't know if he's going to actually start. Tielemans is a player to kind of watch out for, 6.5. Carrasco, that is 7 million. And the other players I'm not too certain about. Let's just have a quick look at the defenders. The player that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Deneri. That is 4.5 and only 3% owned. A 4.5 defender that actually starts for Belgium. It is fantastic. That helps us a lot to kind of get a Belgium defensive cover and to kind of like use the budget elsewhere. Gonna move on to Croatia. There are a couple of players like Lovren, that is 5 million, that could be a good shout. Just going to have a quick look at their fixtures. Not the best fixtures, but there's always that chance for a clean sheet. If we look at the midfielders, there are two players that I wanted to mention. Look at Modric. That is 8.5 and only 3% owned. Modric is the main man for Croatia, takes set pieces as well. You know, if a player is going to get some returns in this team, it's going to be him. Only 3% owned, but that price tag of 8.5 is actually quite a lot. I think if it was around 8 million or 7.5, I think I will have him in my team, but he is a good shout. Another player to kind of watch out for is Perisic. He is only 1% owned, but yeah, those are some of the players that I wanted to mention. Now, if we move to Czech Republic, there's a couple of players that I wanted to mention here that actually could do really well and probably will be very useful for our Euro Fantasy Football team. First player that I wanted to mention is Kufal. That is 6% owned and only 5 million. Decent fixtures to actually keep a couple of clean sheets here. He's an attacking fullback, and definitely someone to kind of watch out for. And Souček is actually in my team. That is only 4% owned and 6.5 million for Czech Republic. He is a player that actually could do really well in this competition, so watch out for Souček. Now, if we move to Denmark, goalkeeper is an option here. 5 million and only 13% owned. I think he will do really well. 5 million the price tag. I mean, that's pretty damn decent. There's a lot of like goalkeepers out there. It's quite expensive, and you know, in the World Cup fantasy football and in the Champions League, like at the beginning I went for really cheap goalkeepers and they did really well for me. So cheap goalkeepers is what I'm looking for. So yeah, definitely Schmeichel is on my list. I'm just going to add him into my team for now. As for the defenders, there is this 4.5 million defender that actually starts and plays, which is really good. Only 5% owned. And the main man that I have to mention is going to be Eriksen. That takes a lot of the set pieces, 5% there, and only 9. Actually, I shouldn't say only 9 million. Is actually quite a lot. So yeah, that's a bit too much. I mean, unless they go through, maybe Eriksen might be in my team. If we move down to England, there's a couple of really good shouts here. But the problem is we don't know. Okay, let's just start from the forwards. So Harry Kane, I think it is another must-have player. He is a fantastic striker, and I can see him doing really well in this competition. 28% owned, 11.5, and he is like a player to be captained as well. So you've got to think that when you're picking these players. The other strikers, I don't think they're gonna start a lot of games, so I'm just going to skip over the forwards. For the midfielders, it's pretty much the same thing. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation here, and there's a lot of like really good players that could do really well. But I'm gonna pick out two players here. It's Foden, that is 8 million, 11% owned. That has done really well for Manchester City, although it doesn't have a picture. I don't know why. Mason Mount, he is a player that I'm thinking to bring in because of this price tag of 7 million. I'm just going to add him into my team. Has done really well, 15% owned, 7 million player that could do really well. I can see him starting like 2 out of 3. And if we look at the defense, there's a lot of good players here. I don't know which fullback is going to actually start and is going to continue playing. There's Luke Shaw, there's Chilwell, there's Trent. There's a lot. And Maguire, we don't know if he's going to actually recover from injury. I don't think he will. Stones there, Walker, Trippier. Like, there's a lot of good options here. Like, if I know that Trippier has a chance to actually start, 5 million is actually not too bad. It's the same thing goes with goalkeepers, really. If we know who's the main goalkeeper, I mean, if it's Nick Pope, then definitely he'll be on my team. You know, 5 million goalkeeper is actually not too bad. If we move to Finland, I think the main man here is going to be Pookie. 7 million player. That is what we want to see. 7 million player, 5% owned. He's done really, really well in the championship, scoring a lot of goals. Norwich is now promoted to the Premier League, and yeah, I won't be surprised if he doesn't get any returns. The first two fixtures is actually pretty decent for Finland to actually get some returns and score some goals in. The other thing that I looked at is the goalkeepers. As you can see, there's quite a lot of cheap goalkeepers that could start and could definitely help us out. I think the main goalkeeper is this player here that could be the main one for Finland. That's 4.5. So, you know, it's good to always get, you know, a playing goalkeeper on your subs, because, you know, if your main goalkeeper concedes a goal, you can change them around. So definitely I've got my eye on these cheap goalkeepers. But things could change, and, you know, the goalkeeping situation will change around. And, you know, if we find out like any of these 4 million goalkeepers playing, fantastic. Let's move down to the list where you have got France. France has got a couple of players that is on my radar. Lloris there, but the problem is 6 million. I can actually use that money elsewhere. You know, think about it. If you can find a 4.5 goalkeeper, you gotta just think carefully about your goalkeeper situation. If you can manage to actually get a really cheap goalkeeper, let's just say you get a 4.5 goalkeeper, right? That is a lot of money saved to kind of use that money elsewhere on your attacking positions. So that's the kind of the strategy that I'm going to be going with. It has definitely helped me out in the Champions League fantasy football and in the other fantasy football games. Trust me on this. You will be regretting it. You'll be like, oh damn, I would love to like upgrade my strikers or my midfielders. And then you look, oh, most of the money is actually in your goalkeeper. But a good player that actually could do really well. However, the fixtures are, this group is actually quite tough, so you got to be quite careful with the pick here. Pavard, Hernandez, Lucadine, Veron, like these are fantastic players. I put Mendy in my team because he's 5.5. Why not go for one of the France defenders there? I'm just going to put him in my team for now. For the midfielders, Kante was in my team just to kind of fill the gaps. 5.5. That's actually really good for a player that actually plays. Will get you like 3 to 5 points in a game, which is not too bad. You know, I'd rather have a player that actually plays. You know, that's what you want to do. You got Coleman there, you got Lamar, you got Pogba, but I think Mbappe is pretty much the one to kind of go for. However, we've got players like Harry Kane, Lukaku. This is where it becomes a little bit difficult to actually bring in these really top, like high-rated, high-priced strikers. So I'll put Mbappe here for now, but I think Mbappe is another must-have player that could do really, really well this tournament. Now we move down to Germany. As the same thing as before, there's a decent goalkeepers here, but quite expensive. Neuer and ter Stegen. I'm not sure which one is actually going to play. I actually picked Rudiger in my team. 5.5 is actually really good in the air as well. But like we looked at the fixtures, not the best fixtures, and I can see them conceding, so I might actually go without a Germany defense. If that's the case, then I'm looking at Gundogan, 7.5. Now that is a bargain. That is fantastic. A player that is might be on penalty still, 8% owned, and you know, I think this is a very, very good player to kind of pick from. He's definitely going to be in my team. Kimmich there. I would have wished that he was a defender instead of midfielder, but 6 million to kind of fill the gaps with a fantastic player that takes set pieces, and you know, he's a player that actually can return big as well. Havertz playing up front could be a massive differential, but 9 million. I don't know, it's all about the team structure, so that is the problem here. Royce is 7.5. If he is a starting player, then that is a bargain. If we look at the forwards, not many options really. Werner is the only one, 8.5. Actually, 8.5. That's not too bad. That is not too bad. 8.5. Not bad. Hungary has got a really cheap goalkeeper to kind of go with. I haven't really looked at the other players, to be honest with you. There's this 4 million goalkeeper that actually plays. I'm hoping that he keeps his place because that is fantastic to kind of help me create a team. Now, Italy is an interesting nation to actually look at. For me, if I had to bring in a player, I might just look at like the goalkeeper. That is 5.5, Donnarumma. Like 17% owned, so it's quite high. But if I really want to go for it, I'm looking at Belotti, but I'm not sure who's going to start. So I think the strategy here is to wait until the deadline, and we'll be getting some team news. Then you can pick the player that actually starts and captain that player. So that is the strategy there. So I'm not gonna pick anyone here and kind of like recommend. You guys can go ahead and just go for a player that actually starts and try your luck on a captain option, because that's what I'm going to be doing. However, I might actually go for a Turkish player. We'll go and talk about that in a sec. Now, if we move to Netherlands, there's a couple of players like Memphis Depay, 10 million price tag, 6% owned, and the fixtures, that's actually not too bad for Netherlands to do well and go through. The other players that I wanted to mention, or the other player is Blind, that is 5 million and only 4% owned. But I'm actually looking at their goalkeeper. Tim Krul is the player that I'm looking at. 4.5 playing goalkeeper, and that is what I like to see. So I can remove that and bring this player in. Perfect. That is what I want. I know some people might look at this and feel like, wait a minute, this is not that good. You should go and get an expensive goalkeeper. Well, we will see. We will see. If we move down to the list, North Macedonia, I haven't really picked a player from this nation, I'm afraid. If there's any good gems out there, let me know. And I move to Poland. Lewandowski, he's the main player, the main guy at Poland. 11.5 is quite expensive. 10% owned. I think there might be better options, but the fixtures is actually not too bad for him to actually get some couple of goals here, and he is a goal scoring machine. He's a goal scoring machine, but it's going to be quite difficult to actually have in our teams. The other player, who was it? Let me just have a quick look. What was it? Defender, right? Benderak, if it's fit and ready, 4.5 playing defender, perfect. I'm just going to add him in my team just because I need a 4.5 defender. If we move on to Portugal, the main guy, the main player is Ronaldo, 12 million, 20% owned, takes penalties, free kicks. He loves the tournament, and I can see him doing really well, but 12 million, that's actually quite expensive. The fixtures are very, very difficult for Portugal, so I don't know, it's really up to you. I think he is a good shout. Fernandes, 10.5 though, so you got to think like, hey, how am I going to actually fit in Fernandes in my team? Let's see if we can just add him there just for the fun of it. Jota is in, well, actually, he's not. I heard that the manager said they should be okay for the weekend. 8.5 is a great shout, a good player that has done really well recently. If we look at the defense, the player that I got my eye on is Diaz. That is 6 million, a very, very good player, and I can see him doing really well. 31% owned, no wonder why. He's definitely on in my team. Cancelo is another player as well. If you want to go for a little bit of a differential there because of the ownership, is quite cheap there. And yeah, let's have a look at the goalkeeper. 5.5. Okay, cool. It's a little bit expensive for my liking, but yeah, as you can see, I'm slowly creating a team. Obviously, this will change. We might get some different announcements, and when we get towards the deadline, I'm pretty certain that this team that I have now is going to change. But it's good to kind of go through it right now and see how it will look like towards the deadline. From Russia, I've been looking and I found this defender Fernandez that's actually I think like they're playing like a back five or something, but he's playing like a little bit further up. He's a shout that is 5.5, and I think they got this main goal scorer that is 8.5. However, that's quite expensive. I don't know if I want to go for an 8.5 player from Russia, so I might actually go without. If we move to Scotland, we've got Fletcher there as their main forward. A couple of decent midfielders like McGinn that could do really well, 7.5. Let's have a look at their defense. This is where I'm looking at Tierney, that is 5 million. The fixtures, it's a bit difficult, but you just never know. Tierney is a fantastic player. Robertson is a fantastic player. 5.5. That's actually quite cheap. But Tierney is the one that I'm looking at. So Tierney, but I have seen O'Donnell like playing a little bit further up in the defense, like in that midfield area. 4.5 might be a little bit of a cheap differential. So it's just gonna add him in my team just for the fun of it, because I do need some cheap players. For Slovakia, I haven't really found anyone that I would really want in my team. If you have any good gems, please let me know in the comments down below. For Spain, there's a couple of players like Morata that could do really well. Their main striker, that is 9 million, 4% owned. The midfielder that I'm looking at is Fernand Torres. That is 8 million, 5% owned. Decent fixtures for Spain to actually go through. You've got Sweden there, you've got Poland. The other player that I wanted to mention is Jordi Alba, 6 million. However, he's been getting a couple of assists for Spain, and it could be a great shout. Only 6% owned. Obviously, we've got Ramos there that loves taking a penalty, but 7 million for a defender, I don't think so. If we look at Sweden, Ibra is back and he's going to do well. I'm pretty certain on that. 9 million, 3% owned. He is pretty much the main guy to kind of go with. I haven't really looked too much at Sweden, to be honest with you. I know that Forsberg takes a couple of penalties in his main club, but I'm not too certain on Sweden doing well here. I might be wrong, but you know, you never know in the tournament. Anything can happen. Lindelof is an option here as well, 5.5. But yeah, I haven't really done a lot of research on Sweden, so if you have any good options, please let me know in the comments below. I think it's the same thing for Switzerland here. I think the player that I'm looking at is the goalkeeper option. Is 5 million and only 3% owned. Not bad fixtures actually here to actually keep a clean sheet, so he is on my radar. If we move downwards here, we got Turkey. Now, as you heard before, I'm looking to kind of like bring in a player from one of these nations, so Turkey or Italy. And I'm looking at bringing in a Turkish striker. Where is he? Yilmaz, there we go. 8 million player that could do really well. He's on penalties. He's been doing really well lately, and I just want to take a little bit of risk actually. But yeah, Yilmaz has a really high chance to actually be in my team because I actually want to captain a player in that first game, and Yilmaz is to kind of one to kind of go for from Turkey. So that is what I'm thinking to do. There's a couple of other options like Suyonchu that we know, 5 million defender, only 2% owned. And don't forget, this percentage will be changing. I've got a 4 million player here. Just need to make sure that these player actually starts. So I'll be doing a little bit more research to find that out. Let's move down to the list. Ukraine, I think the only player that I know from Ukraine is Zinchenko. So if you know any good players from this nation, please let me know. And the last team is Wales. There's a couple of players that I think that could do really, really well. And that is, where is he? James, if he is fit, that is 6.5. Ramsey, I don't know actually if he is okay or if he's actually playing. 8.5, that's actually quite expensive. But Bell, 9.5 is a great shout. But I think was it Matthew Smith? No, was it Wilson? I think it was Wilson, right? Who's playing up front. One of the midfielders was playing up front. I need to make sure to find out. I think it was Wilson. If it was Wilson, then I think he is to kind of go for. Or was it Smith? I'm not sure. I have to do a little bit more research to make sure which one of these midfielders was playing as a striker. And that is a bonus there. For the defense, I'm not too sure. Yeah, I wouldn't really go for the defense for Wales there. But yeah, that is pretty much it. And there we go. Kind of like created a new draft. Let's try and see if we can fix this team. Fernandez, I guess I'm just going to go without a 4.5. There we go. I'm just going to pick this team. This is not my final team. But yeah, there we go. Something like this. I hope that this has helped you guys. I hope that this has given you some kind of idea. And I didn't go through each player in detail, but I picked a couple of players to kind of help you out to pick a team. That's what we want to do. You know, I'm learning as well. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to understand all of these new players from different nations and understand who they are and what they do and who's taking penalties and free kicks. You know, I'm learning as I go as well. But yeah, let's all help each other out. If you know any good players, let me know in the comments below. I think that is pretty much it. I'm sorry if this video was a little bit too long, but I wanted to get everything out there, and then we'll make another quick video on some of like the best players to kind of have in our teams. Okay, anyways guys, I hope you have enjoyed this. Please smash the like out of that button. I am going to be looking at a strategy, looking at the limitless chip. Let me just have a quick look here. So yeah, basically I'm going to go through all of these and the chips that is available for us. Okay, anyways guys, I hope you have enjoyed that. Please give the video a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.